you a business that is trying to launch a resale program, a circularity program, or just have questions in general about sustainability? In this interview up next, I chat with Amanda Lee Smith, the co-founder of Monday Creative. Monday is an agency that has worked with brands like Arcteryx and Lululemon to help them launch their own circularity programs. She answers questions like how to get started, the importance of brand positioning, and how to ensure long-term success with a circularity program. I hope this conversation answers some of your questions. Let's jump in. Welcome to the Backcountry Marketing Podcast. My name is Cole Heilborn. Today, I'm sitting down with Amanda Lee Smith. She is the CEO and co-founder of Monday Creative, a branding and creative studio based out of Vancouver, BC. Amanda, how are you?
I'm doing great, Cole, on this fine, sunny Pacific Northwest day.
Oh, I'd love if you could give us a bit of a background and a breakdown on Monday. But you guys do some awesome work in the industry, and I'd love if you could give our audience kind of a breakdown of what that is, who you are.
Sure, yeah. So we really focus on three main areas. I guess three disciplines you would say. One is kind of research insights, so cultural trends, brand insights, consumer insights. The second is strategy, so brand strategy, marketing strategy, audiences, and then creative delivery. And that's the part that people get to see. So the beautiful campaigns that we've done for Lululemon or some of the brands that we've developed, that's sort of the front and center part. But I think what makes us really special is the first two, the like really in-depth process that we bring to all of our creative, and our clients say that that's what makes the work stand out and what makes the revisions way faster and feedback so much more effective. But we mainly focus on the outdoor active and wellness industries. So when we think of our like bigger purpose, we say that it's to seduce people into the outdoors. So we like to work with brands that are on that same mission, whether that's getting people moving more, equipping people to be outside, or giving them the tools they need to live a more healthy life.
So when a brand comes to you and they want to hire you for help with all of this, maybe they're starting a circularity program, where do you start? How do you begin to wrap your head around this?
Yeah. So in the past, like when we first started doing this, brands were coming to us once they kind of already had their resale tech stack, I call it, kind of already set up more and more. And I had 3 conversations about this last week. Folks are coming to us at the very beginning of their circularity journey, which is really exciting because it means we can actually help them do it strategically. And there's some decisions that you want to make early in the re-commerce journey that are actually really tied to brand. So the first thing you want to do is think about your strategy. So what's your goal? Are you stepping into re-commerce for purely environmental reasons? Or is it because you want to try to find a new profit center, or you're trying to reach a new customer? Those are 3 really different things. And so you kind of need to know your core brand positioning in order to know what strategy is going to make the most sense and resonate with your customers. And you really need solid brand positioning to do that. So the first piece is define your strategy. And then once you know what that strategy is, it helps you pick your partners and build your kind of circularity tech stack. So there's a bunch of different resale platforms. We are pals with the folks at Recurate. They're doing some really interesting things. Trove, Archive, and the platform you choose depends on a few different things. Do you want to have a peer-to-peer option, or do you want to have like a really curated, branded experience? If you know you want to go super curated, you might go the direction that our clients Arcteryx went and work with Trove. And I think Lululemon's working with Trove as well. If you want peer-to-peer, then you might go with Recurate or Archive. Do you want it to integrate into your existing PDPs, your product description pages? So like if I'm looking at an Arcteryx jacket, but I can't afford the $900 one, maybe you're going to give me the option to buy it for 30% off as a used option. Not every brand wants to do that. You know, like if you want to buy from Lululemon's used platform, you're going to have to look really hard. You're not going to find it on their homepage. They're going to make you work for it because for them, it's not part of their brand story that they're ready to tell, but they still want to have that experience for consumers. You need to think about how you're going to approach cleaning and repair. So, partners like Tersis, which cleans technical products, or reverse logistics partners like our clients D brand that will handle all your returns and sort your goods and allocate them, find the highest value channel for them. You need to figure out who all those partners are. And so once you have that tech stack, and there's obviously a lot of work to get the gear in to be able to list it on the platform. But then you want to actually shape that brand experience. So figuring out how you're going to tell that story. Are you going to give it a name? Like, is this platform going to have a unique name and a unique brand experience? Or are you going to let your customers define that for you? Because they're going to call it something. And it's better if you tell them what to call it instead of them telling you what to call it. And I love what Arcteryx is doing. All of their circularity initiatives are wrapped into the brand Rebird. And I think it's really catchy and compelling. People that love the brand understand that, like, the bird, skeleton on their logo. It's something that they can really attach themselves to. And I think creating that experience is really important. But yeah, what is the story that you're telling? Is it a story about affordability? Is it a story about sustainability? You want to be able to define that. And then there's two more steps. One is you actually have to kind of go big on the launch. You can't invest all this money in this tech stack, in all this repair and cleaning, and then just let it kind of sit and hope that people find it. So you have to figure out what your launch strategy is going to be, and obviously leave some time to work out the kinks. But I think it's worth actually going big. So are there maybe key events that you want to launch around, like maybe Earth Day or some other sustainability initiative? So for Arcteryx, when they launched their used gear program, they did an entire used gear month. So for 30 days, you could trade in your pre-used gear and get a voucher worth, I think it was 30% of the original value, which is more than the usual trade-in amount. And then they would make a donation to protect our winters for everything that was donated as well. And I think it drove something like 300% more trade-ins in 1 month than they had maybe had an entire year. So it's worth going big. And then the last step is you actually need to sustain that conversation. And for brands that have, really fast moving marketing programs, figuring out where to integrate that used or re-commerce story can be difficult. Like, are you going to put it on your mainline channels? Like, is it going to go on your main social feed? Is it going to be part of your core email list? Or are you going to develop a completely different email list just for this particular customer base and different social channels? You have to kind of keep that drumbeat going and keep driving people to the platform. But depending on your strategy, it might look really different. Like, it might just be a footer in your weekly emails, or it might be that you have a dedicated email once a month, or maybe you're really going to shine a huge spotlight on it and really drive people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned the word tech stack a couple times. Could you define that? I'm not familiar with that.
So it comes from like the web development world, and like different applications. If you're building for the web, you're going to have all these different integrations, and you could call that your tech stack. And so this is a term that I have just started using to apply to circularity. I don't think anyone else uses it, but like, what are your different tech partners that you're going to use to enable this? And they might not all be, literally tech. They might just actually be partners, but it's a whole ecosystem that enables a resale world. So you need to have your resale platform, unless you want to build your own, which most don't, because there's really good ones that you can integrate with. You need to have cleaning, you need to have reverse logistics, you need to have all of those different pieces, and there's only a few places that do all of it. You usually need to bring in a few partners.
Got it. I'm really curious from a messaging and a positioning perspective, when a brand comes to Monday and they've got all their ducks in a row and you start to work with them on how to communicate and build the campaign and whatnot. As more and more brands are starting to develop resale programs, how do you make sure that they all stand out and feel unique? It would be awesome if every brand had a resale program, but if they all had one, then they could all start to feel very similar and repetitive. How do you think through the messaging behind all of them so that they all feel unique and reflect the brand?
That's where we go back to their brand positioning. So we want to make sure that any story we tell is anchored in their existing positioning. Something, if I'm thinking of a brand that has like a real environmental focus like Patagonia, that is an obvious one. It's always going to be about protecting our home planet. That's clearly their mission. For Arcteryx, that wasn't necessarily the story they wanted to lead with. It was more about getting people outside and creating more access to the outdoors. And if you look at another brand, Cotopaxi is a brand we've spent a lot of time interacting with. They have an even greater social purpose. Their circularity is more about, like the workers that are in the factories, giving them autonomy. They're reduced, like a lot of their products are made from the offcuts from, I think, camelback products. So they're keeping waste out of landfills from other brands, but also creating like a really good quality of life for their workers. So you look at the core brand, and that's the story that you lean into. The other piece is voice, and this is core to any brand. And a lot of the work that we do when we're developing a brand is around voice. How do you make it sound unique and specific to you? Just like every brand visual identity is different, every voice is different, and those two pieces come together to, be the external facing version of your brand. And so leaning into it, is it playful? Is it a little more serious and technical? Is it really like bold and in your face adventure? So we would lean into those different brand attributes to make sure that it feels unique on top of the actual brand pillars that we're borrowing from.
You said that you've talked to a few brands who aren't quite ready to work with you yet. When are brands ready? When should they give you a call if they want to launch something like this?
I think they should give us a call as soon as they're starting to think about it, because we can connect them with the right partners and help them work through some of the bumps that we've seen other clients go through. So I think if you have a product that's high value enough to support resale. I was actually thinking about this morning because I'm thinking about a few clients that maybe have lower priced items and resale doesn't seem like an obvious choice for them. I was thinking about a local company here called Herschel, who we've done some work with over the years, a backpack company, but they also have apparel. A couple years ago, I had a Herschel hat, just like a 5-panel hat, and I wasn't wearing it anymore. I sold it on Facebook Marketplace, and I sold it for like almost the price that I bought it for. And it probably sold faster than anything I'd ever listed. And I realized that, for certain types of items, it actually doesn't matter if it's a low value good. If you have enough brand equity, people in Vancouver love Herschel and moms love Herschel, and they're the ones that are shopping on Facebook Marketplace. So it was an easy sell. So I guess, yeah, like if they know they have enough demand, like you can look on different peer-to-peer resale platforms and see what your product is selling for and see the volume of product that's being moved. If you just have to go to Poshmark and see, what's being listed. And then you have to have support from leadership. So one of the really interesting things about our partnership with Arcteryx is when they first came to us, they had invested a bunch of money into getting their used gear platform set up with Trove, but it was kind of languishing because it was just somebody's side project. Like it was a person that was doing it off the side of their desk. It wasn't their core mandate. And Arc has made a huge shift. They have a dedicated VP specifically for circularity, and all of a sudden used gear is a major initiative, and they've totally reallocated budget towards making sure that is reflected. So I think you need buy-in from the top. You don't want to do a bunch of work and then have it languish. And you need to have that equity with your customers. Like there needs to be that brand love that people are going to seek you out on your platform instead of just like discovering you on Facebook Marketplace or some other peer-to-peer resale platform.
So based on some of the conversations that you were having with folks in the industry, do you feel like we're at the beginning of what could become like the next a next big iteration of the industry is everyone's trying to develop resale programs. Do you get that sense that there's
100%. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, Zara just launched theirs with Recurate, like the biggest brands in the world, the worst offenders are doing it. I think it's going to become table stakes, just like having recycled water bottles in your textiles has become table stakes. And, eventually it will be insufficient. Like, it is the first step in every brand circularity journey. But my hope and my suspicion is that if we're having this conversation 5 years from now, circularity will just be part of every conversation in the apparel industry. It will be what everyone's thinking about. There's a few of us that are teaming up and working on putting together a summit that will allow some of the biggest brand leaders to share their best practices in that, because it's so new and there's so many missteps and so much learning that the only way we can really advance it is if everyone shares their wins with each other and elevates everyone else. The beautiful thing about the outdoor industry is it's so collaborative. Like, I think people really want to help each other. I did a panel at South by Southwest last spring about circularity, and we had Patagonia, Arcteryx, and Cotopaxi on the stage. And you might think that they're competitors, but they don't see each other as competitors. They see each other as peers and collaborators on moving this mission forward. And so we're trying to be a team that facilitates that advancement of everyone.
From a pitfall, classic mistake perspective, or be cautious of, what would you add to that list?
Yeah, well, so there's things for brands to avoid, and the obvious one is greenwashing, like just not making promises that you aren't backing up with your money and with your effort. So it needs to be real and it needs to be substantiated. Every brand wants to tell a sustainability story, but if it's coming from your marketing team and not your product team, then it's not real. So don't ask your marketing team to spin a sustainability story that your product team hasn't been putting into practice for a year or two already. Like, it takes so long to develop sustainable product. And so your company should be living and breathing it before you start talking about it externally. That's probably the biggest one in the space that we see. The other one is, on a similar vein, in our branding projects, when clients come to us and we take them through a discovery process, and the only thing they know how to talk about is like how their product works and profit, we know that they don't really have the foundation of a strong kind of cult following brand. We know that they probably only have a commodity. So I would say for founders to really be thinking about what your bigger purpose is and think beyond just like, oh, I want to make the best performing gloves. That only takes you so far. There's lots of great performing gloves out there. Why? What are you enabling people to do? What's your bigger purpose?
Is that panel discussion, that summit, is that public? Will that be
public?
public?
Actually, if you go to our website and you go to our magazine, you can see a recap of it and you can listen to the audio of it. And so it's Dominique Showers, who's the VP of Rebird at Arcteryx, Annie Agel, who heads up sustainability at Cotopaxi, and Eileen Ottenweller, who leads brand and sustainability at Patagonia. Like, 3 incredible women with so much to say. And I think everyone would benefit from listening because you'll learn a lot from them. And they're really honest about the struggles and the pitfalls that they've hit along the way. And that's actually, I think, part of the circularity and sustainability journey is just admitting where you fall short and being really transparent about the difficult parts of the journey.
Yeah, well said. Well, Amanda, if folks want to follow along with you or they want to get connected with Monday, where can they go to connect?
Yeah, I think our website is the best place for Monday. So mondaycreative.co. Following us on Instagram at Monday Vancouver. And you can follow me at Amanda Lee Smith. That's Lee. for Lee.
Well, Amanda, I want to thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts and share your perspective. And yeah, congratulations on 5 years into the agency
Thank
world.
you.
And it sounds like you're off to the races and making some great change out
Thanks.
there. All right, we'll chat soon and hope you have a great rest of your day. Everyone, thanks for listening to this episode. This is a cut down version of the full episode with Amanda. You can go ahead and find that episode over on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We dive even deeper. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.